lives 33 years perfectly. I can't go 33 seconds. Through sickness, through pain, through anxiety, through depression, through temptation, he never sins. He endures it all perfectly.
And that's about all the line that I can take from that man. Yes, I had to move my location because it started raining. But it's pretty shameful that this man is saying that he can't go 30 seconds without sinning. That you can't go 30 seconds without doing something that is against your betterment, against your good nature. You can't go 30 seconds without being drawn into some type of temptation that you would call sin. And this is based on what you call sin. Not what I would call sin, but what you would call sin. You can't go more than 30 seconds. You are a pretty depraved individual if that's as far as you can go. It's 30 seconds. Or you can't even go the 30 seconds. I go whole days, whole weeks, whole months, whole years. Yet you can't go more than 30 seconds. Now, according to your Bible, you claim that your Jesus had never sinned. But if you actually looked at your Bible and read it and thought about it critically, then you will find instances where your Jesus did commit sins. So let me ask you guys a question. If you know that someone is utilizing a drug or overeating or, let's say that you know someone is consistently and constantly overeating, and that consistent and constant overeating is causing them health issues, i.e. whether it's high blood pressure, heart disease, any of those things. And when they have feasted on all the red meat and all the high sodium, they're out of it. And you decide to bring them some more high sodium food, some more fattening food, some more things that will continue to cause them to be even more unhealthy. You would be an enabler and assisting in their sin of gluttony, right? You will be complicit in their sin of debauchery, right? So there's the story of Jesus. It's one of the first miracles. That's actually the first miracle that is actually talked about in the Gospels, where there is a wedding feast that is going on. And during the wedding, the people had already become drunk. Now, according to your Bible, for anyone to become a drunkard or to become drunk, that is a sin. Noah was sinning when he got too drunk. Many other occasions within your Bible, it tells you, do not get drunk, do not get drunk, do not get drunk. Yet these people had gotten drunk at this wedding feast. All that's remaining is water, which, when people are drunk, one of the first things that we tell them to do is drink water. But instead of Jesus saying, nah, y'all are already drunk, drink some water, his mother pushes him to turn the water into wine. And not just any wine, a fine wine. And the word that is used there, I want you to go look it up for yourself, means fermented wine. Now, whether you say that it was lightly fermented or it was heavily fermented, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that it was fermented and it was good. Good wine. So therefore, your Jesus is complicit in continuing people's drunkenness, aiding them in getting more drunk than they already were in his first miracle. By any other accounts, you would call that a sin. If I saw a person who was on the side of the road, or I saw a person at a party or wherever, or at a bar, and they were already drunk, and I came and gave them more beverages that are alcoholic, you would say that I am complicit in their sin, that I assisted in their continuation of sin. But of course, the apologists, the laymen, are going to do the mental gymnastics to work their way out of that one. It has already been proven that the wine Jesus made was fermented, so there's no way you can work your way out of this one unless you just completely want to ignore the information that is provided for you within your own Bible. So, the claim that your Jesus is sinless is false. It's false. It's a false narrative. But it's one that you must hold on to if you're a Christian. Because if you don't, then it disrupts your entire belief system that he was perfect. And even though I know it's not part of your canon, but the infancy gospel of Thomas talks about how Jesus had pushed the young boy off the roof, the boy had died, and then Jesus brought him back to life. That doesn't sound too nice, does it? But it's not part of your canon, so you can completely ignore that one. But as your Bible does say, all scriptures are good for instructions and learning. You can take with that what you will. You can still choose to ignore the infancy gospel of Thomas, but that's what it says. And it's attributed to Thomas. Probably wasn't written by Thomas. It's attributed to Thomas, though. But as we continue in your Bible, there is the story of your Jesus coming into the temple and seeing the money changers there. And then he begins to flip the money changers' table and beat them with whips. Such a violent act by your peaceful, loving Jesus, who said that you should turn the other cheek, that you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. So therefore, if Jesus was the money changer, you should go and beat him and whip him and flip his tables over. And many of you will say that, well, the money changers weren't supposed to be in the church. They was making a mockery of God's house and so on and so forth. And you don't even understand why the money changers were there. You see, the money changers were there because at that time frame, the leaders of the Jewish community had negotiated a treaty, for the most part, with Augustus Caesar, and with Nero. And I think it might have been with Augustus Caesar, but it carried over into Nero. But in their account, with Rome, they had negotiated a treaty that instead of them having to have a statue of Caesar in their synagogue, and them paying tribute or worship to Caesar annually, that instead that they would pay a tax, a Roman tax to the government in order to avoid having to participate in this, what they could deem a pagan ritual. So therefore, that's why the money changers were there. The money changers were there for that reason, but the money changers were also there because in Deuteronomy, it talks about the fact that if you have to travel from a long distance and you're not able to bring your first goats, your first sheep, firstborn goat, firstborn sheep, unblemished, and your wheat and your drinks and that sort of thing, that you are then to bring money. And you can pay money in order to do your annual worship of coming into the dwelling of this God. You can find that, I believe, in Deuteronomy like 15, 16, somewhere around in there. But that you were able to do that and bring money. So therefore, that was a secondary reason that money changers were there, so that the people can come who were coming from far away. Because by this time frame, this is during the time frame of the Second Temple. By this time frame, Jerusalem was considered to be the place where God dwelled. And all other temples in Judea had been destroyed for hundreds of years. Well, in Israel, and this was called Judea for the Romans, were destroyed. So therefore, Jerusalem had become the center point of where God resided in the temple in Jerusalem. So they would bring their money in place of being able to bring their cattle and their wheat and their drinks and all this sort of thing, and they can just exchange it for money to pay their temple tax. But Jesus beat the shit out of them people. Jesus came in like a gangster. So therefore, if I went into your church and saw people in the church, if a pastor, not me, if a pastor went into a church and saw that the people in the church were not worshiping this God in the way that they are supposed to worship this God, or disagreed with their worship, and came into that church and started beating and flipping tables, y'all would say that that pastor is out of order. Y'all would say that pastor is sinning. And therefore, if he did it and he's called sin, Jesus was sinning. So I'm not buying it. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.